Have you ever found yourself wondering, why am I still so affected by this? Or why can't I let go of these thoughts even though I know they're keeping me stuck? Well, these are very normal thoughts, especially after experiencing abuse. And if these kinds of things are resonating with you, then I want to tell you to please stay tuned because this episode is really going to help. Today, what I want to do is guide you through uncovering some of those subconscious beliefs that are driving your pain and help you to start dismantling the ones that you no longer want. Hey everyone, I am your host, Allison K. Dagny, and I want to welcome you back to the Be a Better You podcast. Today, again, we're going to be talking about what's keeping you tethered to the pain long after your trauma or abuse or these hurtful experiences are over. And specifically, I want to help you identify those hidden subconscious beliefs that might be quietly holding you back and keeping you in these cycles of emotional pain, of ruminating and self-doubt. So just as a reminder, on December 11th, I know that's a ways away, but it's important for you to register for this event if you'd like to join. It is a break free from rumination online training that will be live. There will be a replay if you can't attend live though, so I would highly recommend that you use the link in the show notes to get your spot secured. All right, let's jump into the episode now. Okay, so if you are a regular listener of this podcast, you know that the theme of everything that I do and how I help people has to do with the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is running 95% of the show, right? So anything that you do pretty much habitually, automatically, and without thought, that's coming from the subconscious mind. If you decide you want to stop eating chocolate, or you want to start a new workout routine and you put all of your willpower into that, well, that's only 5% of the power that is going on inside of your mind, okay? Now, can people do that? Absolutely. But what happens is you start with that willpower and then you end up establishing habits and you build those habits over time and then they become ingrained neural pathways in your brain that become automatic, okay? So if we're thinking about this from a reverse perspective, when it comes to ruminating, when it comes to having these habitual thoughts, essentially we have to work our way backwards and decondition those things out, right? And create new neural pathways in our brain so that we can stop doing those ruminating behaviors, because all ruminating is a thought habit. It's just something that you've done a couple of times over and over and over, and then your brain records that and goes, oh, this is important. I need to keep doing this, and I need to do it on repeat over and over and over so that this person does not have to even think about it. It will just become so automatic. It's like when you learn to ride a bike, right? When you're first learning how to ride a bike or drive a car or really do master any new skill, you repeat that over and over and over until you get really good at it. And then you don't even have to think about it. Like if you know how to ride a bike or drive a car, you don't have to think, oh my gosh, how do I drive this car today? How do I ride this bike? And think of all the parts and pieces that go into it. And there are so many, right? Because it has become fully automated from your brain. So this is why it's so important to understand what you're working with when it comes to changing how you feel and changing those thought patterns that are happening inside your brain, okay? So we all have beliefs that shape how we feel, how we think, and how we act, right? And the beliefs I'm going to refer to as programming, okay? So if you think of yourself as a computer right out of a box, there's nothing programmed yet, right? We have to program that computer to do what we want it to do. And it's no different with you. So the day you were born, you were being programmed. Your parents were telling you what was good, what was bad, what was right, what was wrong. Your teachers, your caregivers, your friends, the society you live in, your cultural beliefs and the cultural norms, your religion, all of those things are forming beliefs inside of you, things that are like these guiding principles that you say, this is what it is, right? This is how life should be. This is how people should behave. This is who I am, right? So these are formed very early in life because when you're little, from the time you're born to about 8 years old, you're in what's called a theta brainwave state. And that theta brainwave state is where you are like a little sponge. They say kids are sponges, and it's true, because what is happening at that young age is your brain is taking in everything from its environment. It's taking in every external sense that you receive. So what you see, what you hear, the tastes of the foods that you eat, the sounds that you hear, the facial expressions from other people, experiences like trauma, abuse, all of those things are part of the program, okay? But the good news is we can change the program, right? And the program is really why you are ruminating. So if we want to change that, we have to get into the subconscious mind, because we're not going to change it by willpower alone. We're not going to say, oh, I'm just going to stop doing this. I'm just going to stop thinking about it, because guess what? The more you tell your brain to stop thinking about it, the more it's thinking about it. There have been studies that have shown that little children do not understand the word no or don't, right, when they're in that very young state. So I want you to think of your brain similar to that. So if you tell a child, don't touch that, all they hear is touch that. It was funny because I was just watching an Instagram video the other day where this mother was playing around with this and experimenting with her child, and she had, I don't know if she had an apple in her hand or she had something in one hand and something in the other hand, and she said, which one is not the apple? And this kid is obviously of the age to know what an apple is. And the child chose the apple when she said, which one is not the apple? Because all the child is hearing is the apple, right? So your brain is similar to that, right? So if you tell your brain something negative, like stop thinking about it, or I don't want to be thinking about it, right? It doesn't hear the negative. It literally throws that part out and just goes straight to whatever it is that you said that you didn't want. Okay, so that's important to know too. So when we're going through painful experiences, right, especially things that involve emotional abuse or narcissistic abuse, our brains, what our brains are doing are creating beliefs to make sense of what happened, right? Because these things aren't normal, right? To go through gaslighting, to go through manipulation, to go through somebody trying to control you, like this isn't normal. This isn't how, as human beings, we were meant to live. We weren't meant to be under someone else's control. We weren't meant to be abused, right? This is not the freedom of the emotional condition. And our brains are trying to figure out what happened. Like maybe this, or maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I didn't deserve love, or maybe all men are bad, or relationships are just not safe. Whatever it is, your brain is doing that and bringing those things to the surface to help you make sense of what you experienced, right? When sometimes these things just don't make sense at all. Sometimes the reason people abuse you, and this is my personal opinion, the reason people abuse you is because there's something wrong with them, right? It's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's because there's something wrong with them. Because healthy people don't go around abusing people, right? So unhealthy people are the ones who are the abusers and the ones that have something wrong with them, okay? So the tricky part about this is that these beliefs that you carry around usually operate under the surface, right? They're not in your immediate awareness, okay? And though you can easily uncover them, because that's what I do, and I every time I talk to someone, it doesn't even matter if I'm just having a conversation with somebody at the grocery store who I've just met, right? I can hear their beliefs in what they're saying. This is the training that I've been through, so I know what to look for. And you're probably not going to consciously realize that those beliefs are there when you're talking to your friends, when you're in your mind, like washing dishes and just like complaining in your head, right? There are subconscious beliefs right there. They're like these invisible strings that are keeping you tied to the pain or keeping you tied to the past, right? And we want to cut those strings. Now, I want to share a quick fact with you about the brain, because the brain's role in reinforcing beliefs is so important, right? Because if it's reinforcing the negative beliefs, we want to be able to reinforce the positive ones too, right? Because the positive ones are what's going to get us out of rumination and get us out of the pain. The subconscious mind processes information at about 200,000 times faster than our conscious mind, right? So when you're just awake and doing your thing, right? The subconscious mind is behind the scenes running 200,000 times faster than what you're consciously aware of in your waking state, right? It is creating shortcuts, basically, essentially like storing these deep-rooted beliefs as shortcuts to process future emotions and reactions quickly, right? So that's why if you experience something like a trigger or you experience something that brings up a memory for you, that you might react, that you might have that split second where you don't even have a chance to process or think through what just happened. You immediately burst into tears, you immediately lash out, you start feeling hurt or whatever, right? Because that is so quick. It's so split second, you don't even feel like you have a chance to respond. And I remember years ago when I was in my emotionally abusive relationship where this was happening to me. And my ex-husband, well, now my ex-husband, but my husband at the time, would say to me, like, you need to control your emotions, blah, 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 blah. Well, I was under a lot of stress and I was being abused, right? But what my immediate go-to phrase was, I can't control how I feel. I can't control my emotions, right? So if you're saying, I can't control how I feel, I can't control my emotions, it's because in that tiny little sliver of time where your subconscious mind is running so quickly, you haven't trained yourself to slow down enough to grab that pause and figure out what's happening in that split second. So what we need to do is practice widening that a little bit and making that tiny little sliver bigger so we have an opportunity to respond instead of react, okay? So this is just a really important thing to understand about how your brain works. So let's say that you hold a belief like, I'm unlovable. If you have believed this since you were a very young child because of neglect or rejection or the way that people treated you or being bullied or whatever, right? That is something that's going to be embedded in a neural pathway in your brain. I'm unlovable, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not good enough, or I'm unworthy, right? This is something that is in a actual neural pathway in your brain. Your brain will always interpret any future experiences through that lens of I'm unlovable. And what it will do is it will look for evidence to support that. It's going to look for, see, yep, told you, look how they treated me, I'm unlovable. Your brain wants to be right, okay? So you've got this neural pathway, this subconscious belief that says I'm unlovable. So anytime anything happens, you're going to be looking for, whether you realize it or not, evidence to support that belief, right? Because, oh, yep, see, told you, I'm unlovable. People leave me. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. If I was, my friends wouldn't act like that, right? This is what happens to your brain because your brain is trying to help you feel safe. And feeling safe is also feeling right. Look, I was right again. I'm not lovable. I know it might seem a little backwards, but this is just how your brain is wired. It's like a filter, right? So guiding your thoughts and emotions without you ever even knowing about it. That's why it's so important to have this awareness. And that's why I'm really happy that you're here listening to this podcast, because it's going to open your mind and help you become more aware. And this is why certain situations that we've experienced or that we experience in the present can feel like they're dragging us back to the same pain over and over and over again. Because again, it's on this thought pattern that's saying whatever it is that you hold in your subconscious to try to find proof and evidence that that is true. Now, if you were to say something different, like I am good enough and I am lovable, right? That's wonderful, right? And you can tell yourself that. And I would encourage you to try to change the way that you speak to yourself if you can. But it's not going to change the neural pathway in your brain if you're not speaking the language of the subconscious mind. And I've gotten into this in other episodes, but essentially in a nutshell, speaking affirmations like I'm good enough and I'm worthy and I'm this and that, right? All that's wonderful, but it doesn't really register to your subconscious mind because your subconscious mind hears those words as like a foreign language. So you have to really speak the language of your subconscious mind. And this is how I help people too in my coaching program, because I know the mind language, and I help you speak it to your brain so that you can actually believe yourself when you say I am good enough, instead of just like repeating words out of the blue, right? Because we actually want to believe it and not just say the words. All right, so I would love for you to start to discover which of your subconscious beliefs might be keeping you stuck, right? So I put together a little quiz to help you identify them. And this quiz will ask you questions that are designed to reveal some of the beliefs that you might be holding on to without even realizing. Now, these are just going to be very common kinds of beliefs, and you might not find any of your beliefs in the quiz, but I'm using the ones that have come up so frequently and often with my clients and with myself. So to take the quiz, go to the link in the show notes here, and it will take you right to it. And take a minute and go through your questions. And then when you're done, come back to this episode, all right? Just pause it here, and don't worry, it will be here. I mean, you can keep listening all the way through, but I would recommend just stopping it now and going to the quiz and then coming back to it. And if you're driving or you're busy, right, just make a note to do it later, but I promise you it's going to be worth it. All right, now let's imagine that you've done your quiz, everything's completed, or you made a note to do it. Now, let's talk about what those quiz results might reveal. So you may have discovered beliefs like, I'm not enough, or I have to prove my worth. People will always leave me, right? Each of these beliefs create a unique emotional pattern. Now, I need to say something about beliefs. Beliefs are simply, and you may have heard me say this before, any thought that you're carrying around that is not 100% true for 100% of people 100% of the time. And that is a lot of stuff, right? So anything that you believe that is not 100% true for 100% of people 100% of the time, that is a belief, okay? So the beliefs that you carry are going to be creating your emotions and your emotional patterns and any behaviors that you have, like ruminating. So think of it like a personal playlist of your thoughts and reactions, and they're just repeating over and over and over again. It's just on repeat. It's not on shuffle, it's on repeat. So let's break down a couple of common beliefs. So for example, if you discovered that you believe in your subconscious mind that I don't deserve love, that belief likely will lead you to a sense of unworthiness whenever you think about relationships of any kind, right? Family relationships, romantic relationships, friend relationships, right? If you believe that you don't deserve love and then someone tries to love you, you may unintentionally or unconsciously, I guess I should say, sabotage relationships. You might start fights, or you might do things that push people away or repel, because in your subconscious mind, you truly deeply believe you don't deserve love, right? So this is how your brain is wired. We have to change that so that we can feel worthy, so that when we do enter other relationships, that we can receive that love. Now, this belief can make you seek out things, like it can actually make you seek out situations where you'll be rejected. You may go places where, or try things where you will not be loved. And it could also reinforce behaviors that help kind of solidify you feeling isolated. So holding beliefs isn't just about, oh yes, I have this belief. What's happening in your mind is a whole spiral of things that's going on beyond that, right? It's not just about the belief and the belief creating the emotion. The emotion is what's driving the behavior, right? So you're going to want to reinforce, your brain wants to reinforce this belief that I don't deserve love. So you might seek out these things where you'll be rejected, or you might have self-sabotaging behaviors, right? Because that's what your brain is designed to do. Maybe you hold the belief like, I have to be perfect, or I have to be perfect to be loved, right? which might keep you feeling stressed out all the time. You're always trying to prove yourself, or you're never feeling good enough, or you're always on edge because you can't do, just be yourself and just go about your day with ease. And these are things that, left unchecked, left in the dark, without your awareness, will impact your life greatly. That's why using the power of your subconscious mind is so important. If you are not doing this, essentially you're on autopilot. And autopilot is not where we want to be when it comes to our emotional well-being and our healing. So I want to share a couple of examples from past clients who've uncovered their own limiting beliefs. One of my clients actually realized that she believed that she was always to blame, right? And this was something that she'd picked up from years of being gaslit. So everything and anything that happened, she was apologizing for. Oh, I'm sorry. Right? Especially in that abusive relationship. And then this became a habit afterwards. In any other situation that she was in, she would immediately jump in and apologize. I'm sorry, before she ever even needed to apologize. Someone else bumping into her at the grocery store and she was apologizing. This belief was keeping her trapped in her painful memories, right? And always blaming herself, even for things that were not her fault, just because of her experience and the programming and the beliefs that she was carrying because of that. Another one of my clients had the belief, I'm not safe, right? And a lot of us have this. I used to have this too, which leads to constant hypervigilance and keeps you from being able to relax, right? Not only in your daily life, but in your relationships. You're always wondering, right? When's the next shoe going to drop? When's the person going to explode? Are they going to be mad at me? Did I do something wrong, right? It keeps you from relaxing. So this belief that I'm not safe, right? And some people will say, well, I'm not safe, right? But I have to tell you, that is just a belief, right? If you are under active duress, right? You are actually physically being threatened or emotionally abused actively right now, then you are not safe, right? But if you are beyond that and you have exited the relationship and you're no longer being abused, you're just carrying these things from the past, that's where you need to distinguish the difference between the old stuff that happened to you and the present moment. Now, once my clients were able to identify these beliefs, and this is what I do, is help you uncover them, what they started to do next, because the next logical step is to question them, right? Is this actually true? Are there any other possibilities here? Is this just my brain on repeat saying, I'm always to blame, I should always take responsibility, I'm not safe, right? Is that what's happening? Which one is it, right? Is it actually true? So that's the power of uncovering these hidden beliefs, right? Because it opens the door to actually doing something about them. If you know that they're there, you can actually take control and change it. You get to write the story. Nobody else is writing your story. You get to decide what you think. You get to decide what you believe. And if you are just allowing your brain to repeat these things over and over and over again, unchecked, without any question, that's when you feel stuck. That's when you feel trapped. And that's what's causing you to be in patterns like rumination or patterns of emotional pain. Now, if this is hitting home for you, know that there is a real path forward, right? These beliefs have probably felt like permanent fixtures in your mind, but they're actually changeable. And I'm proof of this because I've changed my brain over this last 7 years. And many of my clients have changed their brain, and I'm still working on it, right? Because it's your subconscious mind is 95% of the show, right? So there's a lot in there. But by being aware of what's in your subconscious mind and these beliefs and reframing these beliefs, You can rewrite the mental patterns. You can change the neural pathways. Your brain is malleable. It is neuroplastic, and it can rewire itself with new learning if you're using the right kind of tools, right? And like I said before, you can't just repeat affirmations to yourself over and over and over again if you're not using the language of the subconscious mind. It just doesn't work like that. And this is exactly the kind of stuff we're going to be focusing on in my upcoming live Zoom on December 11th. I'm going to help you learn how to break free from rumination. And the key is in my one-on-one programs is how to stop thinking of your ex in under 90 days, right? Because this isn't a one-time thing, you guys. Like, this isn't something that you can just take a pill, flip a switch, right? You have to practice this. And if you are not committed or devoted to your healing to practice it, nothing's going to change. It's the same way if I said, do you want to lose 15 pounds in the next 90 days? And if you said yes, right? I don't have a pill for you. I don't have a switch to flip for you. But if you eat this way, if you work out this regularly, if you do this, and this, over the next 90 days, you'll drop that 15 pounds. And it's no different with your brain, right? Because you are retraining your brain. So you can't do it overnight. And I'm going to teach you about this and about the strategies that I use for not only uncovering subconscious beliefs, but for also starting to let go of them so that you can rewire your brain. And you'll learn how to create healthier, more empowering subconscious beliefs, right? That will be your go-to, that will be your new automatic, that lead you toward healing instead of keeping you stuck. Now, I just want to also mention that for anyone who wants to go deeper, I'm offering a $10 upgrade for this live free event where we're going to jump in directly after the free event together in a separate Zoom link where we're going to take a personal look at your quiz results together. And I'm going to help you. And, whether you take the quiz or not, I can still help you figure out what your subconscious beliefs are. But this is going to be a small, exclusive discovery upgrade group of people where I'm going to guide you through helping you figure out what's going on your subconscious, right? Like what's written on your subconscious. And we're going to bring those to the surface. And that will help you like one-on-one versus you just even taking the quiz, right? We'll go deeper so that you can figure out what it is in your subconscious mind that's keeping you ruminating, that's keeping you in these feelings like you're stuck. So if you want that personal touch and that personal approach to identifying what's holding you back, I'd love to see you in the upgrade. Like I said, it's $10 to do that. All right, so if you've just listened straight through and you haven't taken the quiz yet, please go do it. I'm excited to hear from you about it. In fact, if you send in your quiz results or share your insights with me in an email or on my social media DMs, I'll send you a free mini guide to help you start shifting those beliefs right away. So let's take the first step together. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you found this episode insightful and helpful. And remember, these beliefs are not your fault, right? These beliefs are just things that you've been conditioned with and that have been impressed upon you since the day you were born. And that's why, I even think about little children who I'm around, and I wish I could go back in time and not have programmed my kids in all the ways that I programmed them, because a lot of their programming was from the time I was being abused. Obviously, I can't change the past, but every time you talk to some little child, you think about what you're saying to them and how it's being absorbed in their tiny little brains. So they're just old mental patterns that can be changed, right? But wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to change it? We do have to change it, right? Where if you're listening to this podcast and you've been emotionally abused and you're ruminating or you have these blocks or limiting beliefs, right? Just know you can change this stuff. You are not destined to be in pain. You are not destined to feel unworthy. You are not destined to have horrible, toxic relationships. This is just not your destiny. It's not anyone's. We have to take control of our own minds. We have to practice at changing the subconscious beliefs. Your pain doesn't have to define you. It's something that you can work through one step at a time. Thanks for listening today. Don't forget to sign up for the December 11th event. It's free, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can get the link in the show notes. If you can't attend live, that's fine. You will be able to access the replay. And I can't wait to guide you through this journey. And you can find all the details and the links in the show notes. So next week, we're going to dive even deeper into the subconscious mind and learning why awareness of these beliefs is the first real step to lasting change. So be sure to tune in and take that quiz so we can start uncovering the beliefs that are holding you back from healing. Talk to you next week.